Before CDs transformed gaming, home consoles depended heavily on cartridges. They were fast and reliable, but they had one major limitation: how much information they could store. As games became more ambitious, developers wanted bigger worlds, better sound, more characters, and more detailed experiences. But fitting all that data into a cartridge could become expensive and restrictive. Then the compact disc changed the equation. Originally created for music, CDs could hold dramatically more data than many traditional game cartridges. More storage meant more possibilities. Developers could include richer music, recorded dialogue, larger environments, and cinematic sequences that simply weren't practical before. Sega was one of the companies experimenting with this technology. Its Mega CD showed that optical discs could become a serious part of console gaming. Then Sony saw an even bigger opportunity. Instead of simply adding a CD drive to an existing console, Sony could build an entirely new gaming platform around optical media. On December 3, 1994, Sony launched the original PlayStation in Japan, and CD-ROM was at the heart of the machine. With CD-ROM, PlayStation games could be much larger than cartridge-based alternatives. That extra space gave developers room to dramatically expand their ideas. Soundtracks could become richer and more expansive. Instead of relying primarily on synthesized game audio, developers could deliver much more sophisticated music and sound. Voice recordings and cinematic sequences also became increasingly practical. Games were beginning to tell stories in ways that felt closer to movies. Final Fantasy VII became one of the clearest examples. Its massive world and extensive movie sequences demonstrated just how much storytelling CD-ROM could support. Some games became so large that one disc wasn't enough. Players started swapping multiple discs as they progressed through enormous adventures. But cartridges weren't finished. Nintendo continued using them with the Nintendo 64, creating one of gaming's most interesting format battles of the 1990s. For publishers, CDs offered another major advantage. They could be manufactured faster and more affordably. More storage and lower production costs made optical media extremely attractive. By the late 1990s, CD-based systems had helped push the industry into a new generation. Games were becoming larger, more cinematic, and increasingly ambitious. But CD-ROM's influence went beyond physical discs. It reinforced a much bigger idea. Games were ultimately digital data that could be stored, transferred, and eventually delivered electronically. CDs would eventually give way to DVDs, Blu-ray digital downloads, online stores, and eventually cloud gaming. The storage technology changed, but the evolution continued. CD-ROM didn't just give games more storage. It gave developers more freedom, bigger worlds, richer sound, bigger stories, and ultimately a path toward the digital gaming world we know today.